The lights in that corner store buzzed like angry bees. My hands shook like I was caught stealing air, and the math in my head betrayed me in front of a line full of strangers. 2 crumpled dollars, some coins, diapers tagged, formula tagged. My brain said, and the cashier said, and a price change, and I swear it felt like she announced it over a loudspeaker. People shifted behind me, someone clicked their tongue. My daughter Mila reached for the diapers with that trusting little smile, and I had to pick one thing to put back. So I reached for the formula, and that's when a calm voice behind me cut through the static. "I've got it," he said. Not like a hero in a movie, more like a neighbor who holds a door, and I turned and saw a man in a suit that had survived a long day, brown hair going silver, kind eyes that looked tired but steady. "Please let me," he added, so gentle I didn't feel small. And in 3 beeps and a swipe, everything was paid for, and the cashier was suddenly very polite, and all I could get out was, "Thank you." Outside, under the flickering sign, he offered dinner at a diner 2 blocks away. "No strings," he said. "Just pancakes." And I wanted to say no out of pride, you know what I mean. But Mila patted the formula like it was a friend, and my pride sat down. At Harbor Diner, he told me his name was Caleb Monroe. He ran Monroe Dynamics. He worked too much and ate alone a lot, and I told him I'd been an elementary school teacher, until budget cuts erased my job, and a landlord erased my apartment. That for a week, the back seat of my old sedan had an address. He didn't pity me, he just listened and kept refilling my coffee like we had time. When we walked back to my car, and he saw the neatly folded blankets, and the stuffed fox trying to make a trunk look like a nursery, he said it very softly. "This isn't safe, not judgment, just fact," and I said, "It's what we have," and my chin did that hard thing. It does when I'm cornered, and he didn't flinch. "What if tonight you had a door that locks a kitchen, a crib?" he asked, "and no strings." And I searched his face for the catch, and saw none, so I said, "Okay," and watched him buy a portable crib, watched him read the instructions, and turn an Allen wrench like it mattered to him that my kid slept safe. "You've done this before," I said, and he paused and said, "Once," and we let that sit between us like a shared secret. In the morning, he asked if I would consider helping him at work. "My calendar looks like a crime scene," he joked. "You ran a class of 38-year-olds. You can run me," and when I said I had no wardrobe, he said I had the brain, and the rest we could fix, and then he showed me the salary, and I forgot how to breathe for a second. The daycare was on the 2nd floor. Mila loved the giraffe mural instantly, and by 3 p.m. on my first day, my phone buzzed with a clip of her taking 3 wobbly steps, and I grabbed the doorframe to stay upright. "Caleb," I said, "she's walking," and he came flying around his desk, and we rode the elevator down like kids on Christmas, and when Mila toddled toward him and squealed, I watched a wall fall in his face I didn't even know was there. Weeks rolled into routines. Breakfast at 7:30, because he'd show up with warm cinnamon rolls, and an apology for being 5 minutes late. Drop Mila at daycare ride to 27 triage. The inbox wrangle, the board save him from 3 bad meetings and 1 worse quote. And somewhere in there, we started talking like people who were building a life, even if we weren't saying it out loud. He found us a 2-bedroom by the lake, sunlight, like a blessing rent, suspiciously reasonable. And when I asked if he owned the building, he did that guilty half smile and said, "It's an investment property," and I said, "You bought an investment so you could be my neighbor," and he said, "I bought an investment so your balcony faces mine," and yeah, that happened. On his terrace, the wind off Harbor City tasted like salt and second chances, and he said it like he was risking something real. "I'm in love with you," And I didn't make him wait. I set it back because I'd been carrying it anyway, and the truth felt like breathing. And after that, everything sharpened. Lawyers drafted guardianship papers, so if fate got cruel, Mila would never end up with strangers. He learned her nap rhythm and the exact off-key lullaby that works in under 2 minutes. We went to a quiet beach for a week, and he proposed on a balcony with toothpaste on my chin. And I said yes, with a laugh in my throat. If I could stop there, I would, but life doesn't fade to black on the good parts. A headline hit City Spy like a brick through a window. Tech mogul's PR romance, the broke single mom who planned it, is the child even hers? And my stomach dropped because they printed the daycare name and posted our building, and the sidewalk flooded with cameras and questions meant to bruise, and in the lobby, the guard stopped meeting my eyes. Caleb shut his office door, said the words fast and fierce. "It's trash, we'll end it." And I heard board stock scandal the way people love to use a woman like me as a cautionary tale, and fear did what pride never could. It convinced me that protecting him meant leaving him. I said we should take a break until it dies down, and he went a kind of white that scared me. "Absolutely not," he said. But I pushed, I asked him to go, and to his credit, he honored my no even as it broke him in half. For 3 days, the silence scraped me raw. Mila asked for K-Bay on a loop, and I told her stories about busyness and grown-up problems, and then the news broke for real. Subpoenas, FBI, Victor Lang's hackers ripping our lives out of a server, a judge, an injunction, a press conference with our lawyer saying felony and fraud, and I realized I had burned down a good thing to appease a lie. I put on a dress that made me feel brave and went to his office after hours. He stood so fast, he knocked a coffee cup over, and neither of us looked down. "I'm sorry," I said first, because I believed strangers over the man who built my kid a crib on a hotel floor, and he said I should have fought harder, and I said you shouldn't have had to, and there it was. The ugly way you learn you're worthy of a love that stays. "Do you still want this?" he asked, voice low, eyes wrecked. And I didn't make him chase me. I said yes to everything again. The cinnamon rolls and the daycare app, and the headlines and the legal fees, and the neighbors with opinions. And we set a date and held it, because fear wasn't going to run this house. We got married in the garden behind the old library at dusk. White lights in the trees. The grass soft under everyone's fancy shoes, and when Mila reached the altar, she whispered, "I did it." Daddy and his knees buckled for a second, and I don't blame him. We signed adoption papers that morning, changed her name so history would reflect what we already knew, and moved into a house with a porch swing and a yard where Saturdays smell like sunscreen and cut fruit. On a shelf, I found a tiny photo I hadn't seen. Me and Mila under the maple at Harbor Park months before the corner store. Mila laughing that hiccup laugh. And when I asked Caleb, he leaned in the door and said he saw us on a run, heard Joy didn't want to be a creep, but never forgot, so when Sunmart happened, he knew it was a second chance and he took it. You can call that fate or pattern recognition, or a city being smaller than it looks. I just call it grace. The controversy never really leaves, it morphs. It shows up in think pieces about power and money, in whispers at parties that sound like jokes, in the quiet moments when we ask ourselves hard questions and answer them out loud. And I'm still me, still the girl who counts change at a register and refuses to be a cautionary tale. I started a literacy nonprofit for single parents, and it's messy and good, and every night I come home to pancakes on weeknights, and patience on weekends, and a man who learned to leave the office before the sun disappears behind the lake. Here's where I leave you. Victor Lang's lawyers want a settlement that seals the hacking details. Forever, our counsel says it protects Mila from another round of headlines. Caleb says transparency matters because families like ours get shredded by lies and silence. and I feel both sides tugging money and quiet or truth and noise. What would you pick if your kid's future and someone else's justice were on the table at the same time? Tell me what you'd do. Tell me what you've lived. Tell me where you think the line is between protection and accountability. And if this hit you in a tender place, drop a comment. Push back, share your story. I'll read every word, and maybe we'll figure out together what fairness looks like when the cameras finally go home.